The rain lashed against the grime-streaked window of my office, a fitting soundtrack to the rot I usually waded through. Tonight, though, it felt more like a drum roll. My name is Kian Durant, but most call me KD, a former hotshot financial fraud investigator, now just another private eye, albeit one who specialized in cases where the truth was bought and sold, much like everything else in this city. My current obsession, the Sterling-Hawthorne family, a name whispered in hushed tones in boardrooms, shouted in scandal sheets, and etched, for me, into the very fabric of my insomnia. They were the gold standard, literally. Mines in Africa, vaults in Switzerland, investment funds that made Midas look like a pauper. And then there was Corvus Hawthorne, the patriarch, as brutal and ambitious as the bird he was named after, missing for 6 months, not a trace. His disappearance was a ghost that haunted my every waking moment, a puzzle with too many missing pieces and far too much influence at play. My desk was a chaotic landscape of crumpled reports, lukewarm coffee, and the ever-present glow of my laptop. On the screen, a blown-up image of a jacket, not just any jacket. This one was a biker's dream, custom-made heavy leather, studded with what looked suspiciously like genuine gold nuggets, burned, charred in places but undeniably, distinctively hers, Anya Sterling's, Corvus's granddaughter, the billionaire Bikeress, as the tabloids had dubbed her, a wild child, a thrill-seeker, an heiress who preferred the roar of a Ducati to the clink of champagne glasses. She was known for her recklessness, her fiery independence, and that damn jacket. And another thing, a corporate GPS bracelet she was forced to wear, a leash disguised as a safety measure by her overprotective, controlling family. The jacket had been found near an abandoned warehouse in Red Hook, a place where secrets went to fester. But it wasn't just the jacket that had my blood running cold. It was the paradox of evidence that accompanied it. A security camera from a nearby dock showed a lone figure, cloaked in a similar, though not identical, jacket, pushing a motorcycle into the bay at 3:17 a.m. Forensics confirmed the jacket in the footage was a cheap knockoff. But the timing was critical. At precisely 3:17 a.m., Anya Sterling's private jet had been logged taking off from Teterboro, en route to a family retreat in the Hamptons. Too many witnesses, too much official paperwork. She couldn't have been in 2 places at once. The official story, pushed by the Sterling-Hawthorne PR machine, was that Anya was alive, safe, just keeping a low profile. My gut, however, told a different story. I ran my finger over the image of the burned leather, the faint glint of gold catching the dim desk lamp. My analytical mind, usually a cold, calculating machine, felt a strange pull. It wasn't just the thrill of the chase, the intellectual challenge of untangling the lies of the powerful. There was something about Anya, something in the defiant gaze of her publicity photos, the raw energy she exuded even in print, that resonated with a part of me I usually kept locked down. A fascination, perhaps, with the kind of freedom her billions bought, a freedom I'd only ever glimpsed from the outside. My partner, Lena, a former cybersecurity expert with a penchant for black coffee and dry wit, walked in, the scent of rain clinging to her. Still staring at the scorched couture, KD? Any closer to figuring out if our biker princess is a victim or a perp? I sighed, leaning back in my worn leather chair. The jacket's a statement, Lena. A taunt. Too obvious, too theatrical for a simple hit. And the GPS bracelet. That's where the real story lies. You still think she had a second one? Lena asked, referring to my wild theory. Anya was mandated to wear a singular, unremovable corporate tracking device, yet a tiny, military-grade GPS tracker, meticulously soldered into the lining, had been found inside the burned jacket. It was a standalone unit, broadcasting its own signal, separate from the corporate one. The family had dismissed it as a plant, a frame-up. But I knew better. I'd seen enough of these rich bastards to know they always had a backup plan, a secret identity, a ghost in the machine. It's not a second corporate bracelet, I clarified, my voice low. It's an unauthorized one, a personal failsafe. Anya always played by her own rules. even if it meant breaking a few family mandates. This was her way of keeping tabs on herself, or perhaps on something she left behind. Lena raised an eyebrow, a hint of concern in her eyes. "You're getting too close to this one, KD. Your fascination is veering into obsession. You haven't slept in days. Sleep is for the innocent, Lena, and in this case, I'm not sure anyone is." I pushed a stack of financials across the desk. "Look at these. Sterling-Hawthorne gold. 6 months ago. Just before Corvus vanished, there was a series of anomalous transactions. Small, untraceable, but consistent outflows of a particular type of refined gold, the kind only found in their private vaults." "Diversion tactics?" she murmured, scanning the figures. "Or a secret fund, a personal hoard, something Corvus was building outside the family's scrutiny, or something he was hiding." The thought sent a shiver down my spine. The patriarch was ruthless, but even he had vulnerabilities. What if Anya found out? What if she was trying to expose him, or protect him? "And the bracelet in the jacket?" Lena pressed, bringing me back to the immediate puzzle. If it's hers and it's transmitting, where's the signal? This was the part that had been eating at me for weeks. The military-grade GPS had been silent. Just a dead signal, a ghost. But Lena, with her digital necromancy, had managed to pull a faint, almost imperceptible ping from the ether a few hours ago. A single weak pulse, then nothing. It was like a dying star, a final desperate plea for help. "That's the kicker," I said, a strange mix of dread and exhilaration bubbling in my chest. "You remember that faint ping you picked up earlier? I just got a stronger read. It's active, Lena, and it's moving." Lena's eyes widened. "Moving? Towards where?" I turned the monitor to face her, revealing a street map of Brooklyn. A small red dot pulsed steadily, undeniably, moving slowly but surely through the labyrinthine streets. "No," Lena whispered, her voice barely audible. "That can't be right." "It is," I confirmed, my gaze fixed on the screen, a cold knot forming in my stomach. The red dot, Anya Sterling's personal GPS bracelet, the one from the burned jacket, the one that should be with a dead woman or safely stashed away, was heading straight for my apartment. My isolated brownstone in the forgotten corners of Sunset Park, a place only a handful of people knew about. The rain intensified, drumming a frantic rhythm against the window pane. "She's either coming for me, Lena, or she's sending a message. Either way, this just got personal." The hours that followed were a blur of frantic preparation and growing paranoia. I double-checked the locks, loaded my Glock, and tried to make sense of what was happening. My apartment, usually a sanctuary of solitude, now felt like a trap. Every creak of the old floorboards, every gust of wind, every distant siren, sent a jolt of adrenaline through me. Lena, ever the pragmatist, was setting up a secure feed from the building's exterior cameras, her fingers flying across the keyboard. "It's just crossed the Gowanus Expressway," she announced, her voice tight with tension. "ETA, 30 minutes, maybe less." 30 minutes, I repeated, the words tasting like ash. My mind raced, trying to piece together the fragments. Why me? What did Anya want? Was she even alive? Or was this a posthumous game orchestrated by someone else using her device? The Sterling-Hawthornes were masters of manipulation, of pulling strings from the shadows. Could this be a test? A warning? Or something far more sinister? The memory of Corvus Hawthorne's last known movements flashed through my mind. He had been seen leaving a private club, just blocks from where the burned jacket was found. A discreet meeting, according to the club's ledger, with an unknown Ms. Silver. Ms. Silver, an elegant alias for someone involved in gold, perhaps. Corvus had a reputation for illicit dealings, for acquiring raw, unrefined gold from sources that wouldn't stand up to public scrutiny. Was Anya involved in that? Was she trying to expose the dirty secrets of her family's empire? My gaze fell on a framed photograph on my desk, a relic from a past life. Me, in a crisp suit, shaking hands with a senator, a medal pinned to my lapel. The Kian Durant who believed in justice in the clear lines of right and wrong. That man felt like a stranger now, This Kian Durant, hunched in the dark, clutching a gun, felt more real. "It's turning onto your street, KD," Lena said, her voice cutting through my thoughts like a surgeon's scalpel. My heart hammered against my ribs. I moved to the window, peering through a slit in the blinds. The rain had softened to a drizzle, casting a slick sheen on the empty street. The streetlights painted long, distorted shadows. And then I saw it. Not a motorcycle, not a car. A figure. Small, cloaked, moving with a deliberate, almost unnatural slowness. My breath hitched. The red dot on the screen was directly beneath the figure. This wasn't an attack, not in the conventional sense. This was a statement, a delivery. The figure stopped directly in front of my brownstone. My blood ran cold, a mix of fear and an unsettling curiosity. They placed something carefully on my doorstep, a small, dark object. Then, just as silently as they appeared, they turned and vanished into the night, swallowed by the shadows and the lingering mist. Lena let out a shaky breath. "They're gone. Whatever they left, it's on your porch." I approached the front door, my hand on the cold metal of the knob, my senses on high alert. Every nerve ending screamed caution. But the investigator in me, the part that lived for the unraveling of secrets, pushed me forward. I unlocked the door, slowly, cautiously, and opened it a crack. On the mat, nestled in the dampness, was a small, velvet-lined box. It looked antique, worn with age, and felt surprisingly heavy. My fingers trembled as I picked it up, the weight of it unsettling. Inside, resting on faded purple velvet, was a single raw gold nugget. Uncut, unpolished, and wrapped around it a small folded piece of parchment. My eyes immediately recognized the distinctive, elegant script, Anya Sterling's. My heart pounded. She was alive, or at least her message was. I unfolded the parchment. The words were brief, cryptic, yet devastatingly clear. "He didn't just disappear, KD, he was buried alive. This is where the real treasure lies. You'll know. The gold remembers." And then, at the very bottom, scrawled in a darker, almost frantic ink, a single word, paradox. The gold nugget. The very same type of gold I'd identified in the anomalous transactions from Sterling-Hawthorne gold. The kind that Corvus-Hawthorne had been secretly stockpiling. The kind that remembered. My mind raced. Buried alive. A specific type of gold. The paradox of the jacket. Of Anya being in two places at once. The GPS bracelet moving like a phantom, leading me not to a confrontation but to a clue. This wasn't just a missing persons case anymore. This was a twisted game of power, inheritance, and a family's buried secrets. A revenge plot, subtle and brutal, being orchestrated by the very person the world thought was either dead or innocent. The paradox wasn't just the alibi. It was the entire framework of their existence. The public facade of glittering wealth, the brutal reality of their hidden crimes. Anya was telling me that the impossible was the key. She wasn't just a bikeress. She was an architect of chaos, using her family's own tools against them. But the question remained, echoing in the quiet of my apartment, amplified by the distant city hum. Was Anya Sterling a victim, playing a long game from the grave, or a predator finally unleashed? And what did she mean? The gold remembers. Was it a location, a person, or something far more ancient and sinister, a secret tied to the very source of their unimaginable wealth? And if she's alive and she knows where I live, why send me this? Why not just confront me? Is she testing me, pushing me, or is she just as trapped as Corvus, using me as her last resort? The GPS bracelet on her jacket was the bait, the lure. But the gold nugget and the message were the hook. I closed the box, the weight of it in my hands feeling heavier than any evidence I had ever held. The Sterling-Hawthorne family had built an empire on gold and secrets. Now, one of their own was tearing it down, piece by gilded piece. And I, Kian Durant, the disillusioned detective, was caught in the crossfire, the unwitting pawn in a game far grander and more dangerous than I could have imagined. The rain had stopped. The city began to stir with the first hints of dawn. But for me, the night was just beginning. What would you do when the truth comes knocking? Not with a bang, but with a whisper and a ghost of a golden past, leaving you to wonder if the real crime is the one uncovered, or the one that remains hidden in plain sight. Subscribe to the channel and leave your like for more stories of crimes, secrets of powerful families, and investigations no one dares to tell. Until the next case.